If you want to really be a great PM, you should always be close to your customer. If you can't read your resume, nobody else is going to read that. These 2-3 things, right? So cracking the PM interview, decode and conquer, and this case in point in case it is available.
Hey everyone, this is Bhavish and welcome to another session of podcast with HelloPM. We have Aditya Singhal, who is presently a senior PM at Cred, and initially he started journey with Paytm. Also, we have our co-host joining with us, Naivedya Jain.
So I'm one of the mentors at HelloPM, and also I work currently at Walmart. So without much introduction, I would like to introduce you guys to Aditya, right? So Aditya has been one of my go-to persons at Paytm as well, right? He has worked on a lot of products, especially in FinTech space, right? So right from launching debit cards himself to now working on insurance products at Cred, right? So he has a great experience around FinTech, right? So hope this conversation turns out very useful. Stay tuned, and yeah, let's hear from Aditya.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bhavishya and Naivedya, for your kind words. Hi guys, Aditya Singhal this side. Like Naivedya has very kindly said, I'm a senior PM now at Cred for the past close to 2 years now. And before this, I was working with Paytm for 6 odd years. So I have worked in the fintech sector at Paytm, and now I'm working into I'm looking into insurtech here at Cred. So I'm very excited to be here, guys. Thank you for having me here.
So you started with being a software engineer turned consultant, and then moved to program to product, right? So if you could condense very shortly for our audience, right? How did that transition happen? Why did you choose to be in product?
Okay. Before getting into product management was very accidental for me, like many other product managers in the in our ecosystem. Primarily the reason being that the industry in itself got here somewhere around 2015-16 only, right? So the very first wave of fintech companies and marketplace companies basically led to this new role, and this is complete. They basically created this new ecosystem of product managers, right? For example, maybe say Flipkart, maybe Snapdeal in the marketplace, amongst the marketplaces, and then maybe say a Freecharge or a Paytm in the fintech ecosystem, right? So when I started my career back in 2011, fresh out of my engineering college, I did not know a word about product management. Because there was no word to know about product management, right? Nobody was talking about product management in the country. There was no product manager, right? It's just that, and we some of us had smartphones in our hands, some of us didn't. The ones who had a smartphone they had a BlackBerry phone to begin with, right? So hardly there were any apps back in 2011-10, right? So when I started my career, I started as an information security executive, but this is what I stumbled upon after my engineering, and then I quickly kind of found out that okay, I am a software engineer. I want to work in software, and hence I moved into Wipro, and then was working into multiple technologies, and then quickly found out that okay, I also wanted to do an MBA. To get a more generic role, which is more broader, right? So rather than getting very deep into a particular technology, I wanted to go more broader, and hence I went for a MBA, post which I got into consulting with Cognizant, and post when I got into consulting, I quickly found out that okay, I kind of heard about. I had actually already used their product, Paytm's product, but I got an interview there, and then got into into program management there first, and then looking at a lot of and this was my first view into the product management world, where this was the very first time that I actually ended up talking to product managers, right? So being a program manager, I was working very closely with them. I could understand what are the different avenues from where they get their problems. It's not only the customer, but it's also internal stakeholders from which the problems come, and this was the very first time that I was seeing a B2C kind of a role here, right? So for example, for all the companies that I had worked with, all of them were B2B companies, right? Wherein whatever product or whatever service they were providing was to another business, I never got to talk to my customer. But when I came to Paytm was the first time that I actually saw that, okay, things that we build, things that we do, whatever change I'm doing, whatever work I'm doing can actually impact a customer tomorrow or say 6 months down the line, right? So this was the very first time that I saw that such change is actually in our hands. I mean, if you have a phone, you are using an app, this is probably built by some product manager, some developer, and this is and they are basically changing your behavior, right? So and whatever we build, we can actually measure by the responses of our customers. So this was the very first time that I saw this, and hence I got lured into this product management world, wherein I also wanted to try my hands on. And then thankfully I though very difficult, it was very difficult, but I wormed my way into product management from the program management role that I had there.
You internally transitioned from program management to product management. A lot of students, aspiring PMs, ask the question how to transition internally within their own company. So how did you go about it? If you could give a glimpse about your journey.
Okay. Like in our product management world, right? So we basically talk about retention, right? So and acquisition, and like most of us aspiring product managers also would be getting into all of this, right? So retaining a customer is 5x easier than actually acquiring a new customer. Similarly, why is that so? Because you already have a working, living relationship with this customer, right? Wherein this customer has already seen some of your products. He understands your product, and hence it's easier to sell a new product to this customer or to retain this customer, right? Because they understand the value that your product brings to them. Similarly, when you are in a company, when you have actually spent some time, you have delivered some stuff, you have actually got some credibility, you have built your credibility with your senior stakeholders, etc., who have seen you deliver stuff, then it becomes way much easier for you to ask them for a favor, to be very honest, that boss, you have seen me work, you gave me this amount of work, I actually delivered this high amount of output, you are happy with my output, can you recommend me to this particular team? I know for a fact that they're building this new thing, I think I can bring this value. And in case if you can also do say a tear down, or basically you can create a 5 slider for all you want, right? So it need not be a 50-pager thing, it should not be a 5,000 word document or some output in itself, but if you can just show some proof of work to the team members, then it actually becomes way much easier for you to get your hands dirty in a new team, in a new role. And yeah, so this is what I also did. I was already working with this team. I had already alongside basically 5 or 7 other people, we were able to deliver a bank in itself, right? We created we created Paytm Payments Bank, not just me. This was a huge battery of people, but we started with just 5-6 people. By the end of it, we were like 100 people, and now there are some 1,500 people working for Paytm Payments Bank today.
Why FinTech in India is like leader in the world, right? All other fields, we say India catching up, right? Here, world actually needs to catch up with us, right? So my first question is, why is that the case? Second is, what's the future, right? Those who want to get into this kind of space, right? Product management space, right? Where do you see maximum opportunities coming here, right? In which sectors you see which are related to FinTech?
I think the reason to that is innovation coming from the very grassroots of the country, right? So we see that not only very big companies, for example, Visa, PayPal, or MasterCard, etc., can induce changes, but we have seen very, very small companies as well bring a new product, do kind of a POC, and then when and then the second point here, that when the regulator sees that, okay, this is a new opportunity, sounds interesting, then they are actually able to bring about good regulation around the same and make guidelines around the same in fairly less time, so that the entire country all the banks, all the fintech companies, etc., see this as an opportunity and hence start riding this particular wave, right? For example, China had done QR code before us, right? But when Paytm brought QR code in India for doing Paytm QR wallet transactions, the regulator saw merit in this thing, and then they came up with this Bhim QR code, right? And this became a guideline. This became a mandate, and all the banks had to bring out UPI. And now, cut to some 5 or 6 years down the line, you see that even the hawker on your street is using QR payments for transactions up to 1 lakh rupee, starting from 1 rupee. Imagine, right? So the regulator has been very, while they have not kept security on the back foot, security is always very primary to our regulator. But I've seen that the regulator has actually stepped in wherever required, and they have actually given the correct set of guidelines for the customer as well as for the ecosystem. For example, to induce card-based transactions and to ensure that the entire POS machines, etc., all of this all of those transactions which were happening in cash get moved to digital transactions. They ensure that the MDR, etc., will be zero, so that the merchant does not have to pay anything. If the merchant does not have to pay anything, hence they will now start taking cards. Earlier they used to say that the card machine is not working, which was always false, right? They didn't allow the customer to use card machines. Why? Because on the same transaction where they can take cash 100 rupees, for example, the transaction size is 100 rupees here, they can take 100 rupees but in cash. But when it comes to, if they take the same transaction via POS machine, they will have to give 2 rupees to the machine wala bank, right? So hence they said that the machine is not working. But now when this transaction can happen at zero cost, then the merchant is also receptive to this change, and hence you see that now every merchant has POS machines. Similarly, every merchant has QR codes at their shops, because it is literally free of cost. So so our regulator has been very responsive to change, and they've always kept the customer and the economy and the narrative that that almost all of the transactions should be digital and should not be in physical cash form. So I think that is the reason why India is able to do stuff that the rest of the world has probably not.
And Aditya, what's the future, right?
I think
2-3 sectors which will grow, right, where aspiring PMs can focus on, right? Because we heard FinTech, right? Is it insurance? Is it anything related to wealth, right? Where do you see that growing?
I think with the current down cycle that we are in the midst of 2023, right? So I see that the focus now will be revenue. The focus will now be profit. And if you really think about it, for any fintech, primarily every fintech nowadays is a marketplace of financial services, right? May it be PayTM, may it be PhonePe, may it be Google Pay, right? They have 10 different products that they're offering. Nobody's offering just one product anymore, right? So for a fintech to survive and to thrive, there are only a handful of products where they can actually make money. So they can make money via loans. So hence you see PayTM doing postpaid. You see PayTM giving loans to merchants. Similarly, you saw Bharat Pay give out loans to merchants. Them doing 12% club, Cred doing mint, basically acquiring money at lower interest rates than they would have from other sources, and then giving out this money again as loans, right? So I think since the money is to be made, and since the narrative now is profitability and revenue generation, actual revenue generation, not tentative revenue generation and expected revenue in 2027. Now everybody wants revenue now. They want it yesterday, actually, right? So hence, since the narrative is profitability, hence the products that will be in the limelight now will be profit-bearing products. There will be insurance where there is good margin. There will be lending where there is good margin. Basically, wherever there is underwriting of the customer, wherever there is underwriting of risk, I think there is good amount of probability that most of the requirements will come from. And since requirement will be this, hence the product managers will also be there only. I mean, this is demand actually creating supply here.
I'm pretty sure you would have been taking interviews for a while now, right? So what are the couple of qualities that you notice, the very first thing that you notice in a candidate?
the primary quality that I always look out for in a candidate is that this person should be able to zoom out and then zoom in very quickly, right? Because in this particular role, what happens more often than not is that who you are talking to will basically define how deep you should have gone into that particular discussion, right? So for example, when you're talking to your CEO, you better talk numbers, right? You better talk actual actionables and the impact that you have brought. But when you're talking to your customer, you don't want to cloud their judgment, right? You want to listen to them and understand what is actually the problem. As simple as that, right? What is the problem that you have? And the answers that you will get will be super raw answers, right? It might take you 2 to 3 different people giving the same answer to basically understand that, yeah, this is really a problem, right? Otherwise, you'll be like, what is he saying? Does not even mean anything. But it's only when it gets repeated a set number of times that you'll be able to identify a pattern and then think that, okay, yes, this is really a problem. I mean, I was looking out for a problem because I am a human in myself. I have my own biases. When I got into this discussion, I already knew that, okay, there are these 2 problems that my product already has, and probably I'll find third.
Yeah.
And this third one also I have some clue about. But this customer is telling me something completely new, which I mean, this was like in our ecosystem we say that this is a feature, not a bug, right? So this is something I did not even come to this discussion. I was not even seeking this answer, and then this person is giving me this answer. It will take multiple people to basically bring you to that. So whenever I talk to someone while taking their interview, I basically make sure that I'm able to see that, okay, how deep can they go into this particular discussion when needed, and also how easily can they tell this to someone. Like people say that, okay, how can you explain this to a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old, right? 10-year-old, right? So that is one quality that I definitely look out for. Yeah. And this can be as easy as them basically saying that, basically asking them that, what do you do in your day, and then going super deep into it, doing a 5 why, getting deep into it, ki, why are you doing this, and then ekdam se just asking them that, okay, how does this tie in with the actionables or the deliverables that are expected by your domain, right? So that kind of gives very good insights into.
And are there any specific questions that you end up asking every candidate out in the market?
Yeah, like I just said, one question that will always, I think now also after this goes live, and if I somehow end up interviewing somebody who's actually looking at this, would be that, what do you do in your day, and doing a 5 why, and then not I mean, at points 5 why is not required, and then asking them that, okay, how does this tie into the general narrative or the general responsibility for this particular role? How does that tie into the larger deliverables that are expected from the organization itself as such? So that, I think, is a very good question to ask, and actually everybody should know that what are they doing and how does this contribute to the larger numbers, right? So
yeah. So again, since you mentioned about the 5 why and you bought framework in the interview process, so is there any particular framework that you follow in your day-to-day PM journey, or day-to-day dealing with a lot of stakeholders, or maybe your day-to-day tasks?
I am while I brought 5 whys into this discussion, but I'm not a very huge fan of frameworks, to be very honest. I keep my discussions very open with my stakeholders, and I do not bound myself with a framework that if this happens, then the next step is this, then the next step is this. I don't do that very often. So while there are a lot of frameworks to always keep in your mind, and 50 other people will always talk about that, but I generally tend to stay away from them. I think that whatever you have learned in the many years that you have been in a particular role guide you better than a particular set of points, because then you end up doing things in a particular format and everybody can catch that.
I am suppose applying, right? What are the top 2-3 things you look out for me in the resume which will catch your eye?
So good question. I mean, there are a couple of things which actually jump out of every resume, right? The easiest of them being that whenever a person is writing about their achievements, right, it should not be very jargon heavy, right? Everybody tries to cramp in as many words, as many big words as possible. But the problem is that the sentence in itself has no meaning at all, right? If you're writing the name of your internal project, which impacted some internal deliverable, it means nothing to me. But if you actually wrote that, okay, this brought the engagement up by 30%, or it brought the acquisition cost lower by this percent, then it would make sense to me. So your resume, whatever it has, it should very clearly, first of all, it should be like a story, right? So when I'm reading it from the top, or if I'm reading it from somewhere in the middle, then it should flow like a story, right? So I should be able to understand that, okay, Naivedya did this, then Naivedya did this. Okay, this might have taken like 6-7 months. This is a regular job that he does. This is a regular KRA, etc. All of that, and then so this should flow like a story. That is one. Second, the impact should be very, very clear. I mean, sometimes people just keep going into circles, etc. And by the end of, when you have 10 different or 15 or 20 different resumes that you have to go through, you would want to go through them very quickly. And for the 1 minute or 2 minutes that I have for a particular resume, I would want to take at least one output, at least one thing that jumps at me, right? That, okay, this guy 30% acquisition cost kuch kiya tha yaar isne. Something like that, right? So if that does not if that is not brought out very clearly, then I think this will it high likelihood that it might get filtered out. So these are 2-3 things: impact, and second would be it has to flow like a story. It has to be simple words.
Factual opinion, right? Is degree a barometer for you to filter out a resume?
Having a technical degree essentially tells the other person who's actually going through your resume that this person has basic knowledge about technology, right? One, it can come via your degrees, it can come via your experience as well, right? But getting that relevant experience in technology will only comes when you have actually had some degree or something of that sort. Otherwise, why will somebody give you a job in the very first place, right? So if you have a technical degree, then getting into a technical product management role will be much easier. So I think, for the kind of products that I build, having a degree, engineering degree, or something to do with technology will always definitely help. But then again, getting an MBA, I don't think that is necessary. I have seen a lot of product managers doing exceptionally well, and they don't have an MBA degree.
3 things that you really would want to avoid in a resume. You would not like to see anything related to these 3 points mentioned in the resume.
First is the length of the resume. I think and I think people are already following this. Most of the resumes that are reaching your interviewer, your potential interviewer, are of 1 page, right? So if you are doing 2 pages, know that 30%. The probability of this resume going through has already dropped by 30%. If it is 3 pages, please consider nobody is reading this. You are not reading your resume because the primary reason being that you are not reading your resume, so nobody else is going to read that. I'm being very honest, right? For example, I have a 1-page resume, and I've had this since MBA. I think this was the first thing that they taught about the resume, that the font, whatever the font be, whatever the format be, it cannot go past 1 page. That is an absolute no. So that is one. Second, people using words which where the string length, the char length is more than 10 or 12. People, I don't know whether they do this right click and change this with a smart word, but like I said earlier also, keep your resume sound like a story, because if you go past, if you actually become a product manager, you will write stories at the end of the day, right? So one thing is you writing a story. Second is somebody actually willing to read it, right? So if you can't read your resume, nobody else is going to read that. If you can show your resume to your mother, to your father, and if they can make some sense out of it, knowing you for the past 20, 25 years, 30 years, then I think you have done a good job. Otherwise, it's not going to sit well with your interviewer. Then having and things that people do to increase the size of their resume. Why? Because they somehow have this notion that it has to be at least 2 pages. They write the names of their parents, they write, alternate email IDs, etc. All of these things.
Yes,
I don't think this is relevant. If you for example, things like uh, achievements. This is really good, by the way. But like, the problem is that if you are writing achievements from your class second or class third, or things which are completely irrelevant to this role, then probably don't do it. For example, I used to do karate until class 7. How is it relevant now? I might be a black belt then. If I were doing karate now, then probably it's good. Active guy. But if I left it when I was in class 7th or class 6, then it's not relevant. Don't do it. Don't unnecessarily increase the size of your resume.
What's a typical success rate for already a PM to get into a next role, right? How many interviews on an average people give, right, before succeeding? Because a lot of people assume you just gave one interview and you cracked that, right? For me, that number is like around 20% for a very smart PM, right? 20 to 30%, right? But what's your take on that, right? Out of 5 interviews that any person gives, right, who already understands product management, right, what is their realistic success ratio?
I think, first of all, when it comes to product management interviews, more often than not, what will happen is that you'll go through multiple rounds of interviews. The first one will just be screening. Somebody has actually seen your resume, they liked it, and hence they are taking this conversation ahead. Then the first round will be where this person is trying to understand whatever you have written, is it real? For example, they're just trying to screen through your resume, getting you to talk, trying to basically understand if you can talk to multiple people, if you can just go high, go low, etc. All of that. And then the third, if we call this the third round, then this third round will always, more often than not, this will be your use case / case study kind of a round, wherein you'll be given a case study and then you'll have to go through it. And then even if you have done a good job or a bad job, chances are that you will get into your fourth round, where you will have to actually present this case study to somebody who's taking your interview, who's taking a serious interview, if you call it so, for the very first time, right? This is where, why, and also why, because you are applying for a role where you will have to give demos, where you will have to talk to multiple people, and hence whatever idea you have, if you can't present it in a way that engages your audience, interviewer in this particular case, then probably you are a good writer, but you are not a good product manager probably then, right? So everybody has ideas. Like I saw this interview from Ashneer Grover that idea to kilo ke bhav se bikte hain India ke andar. There are 140 crore people, everyone has an idea every morning, so there are 140 crore ideas every day, but how many see the light of the day, right? So similarly, you might be very good at writing, but if you can't present it, then you will not be able to convince your audience, which is your developer, which is your business person, which is your compliance, risk, treasury, right? In some cases there are hundreds of teams, right? So that is there. You have to make through these different interviews. So the point being that the answer, whether you get selected or not, will not happen via just one interview, but it will be a battery of different discussions that you would have had. For example, you would have gone through a case study round, you would have gone through this presentation of this case study round, and then you would have gone through a level up or a step up round, and these 2 or 3 people will sit together and then decide the fate of your candidature, right? So this is generally how it will happen in most companies, and similar, I think this is how it happens in PAYTM also. This is how it happens in Cred also, that these 2, 3, 4 different discussions will happen.
Is there any like the hardest question that you have faced?
Solving traffic problem in Bangalore. I was asked that once, right? So I
Are you
failed.
able to solve it? No.
No.
Okay, just kidding. But okay, I think one good question that I was asked, in fact, for Cred only, was around new to credit card segment, right? So at some point, since Cred says that we are the club for the top 1% of India, so this 1% will run out, right? We will, high likelihood of running out of potential customers your serviceable operable market. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 1.4 crore people then, if you're saying it's just the top 1% people, right? So for us to increase the market size, we have to bring more people to this side of the table who have access to credit, for example, via loan, via credit card, etc. So my case study was also around whether Cred should step into NTCC, which is new to credit card base, wherein basically cardification of people who have never seen a card, who have never been given a card because they don't have a credit history to speak of, right? So that was a very interesting it was a case study. It was not a and this case study, I mean, this was a presentation slash PPT that I had to create, and I was given a week for that. So that was something very interesting that I did. I had to size the market. I had to understand if it's a big enough problem to solve, how to solve it, where does the customer discover this, how do we engage this customer.
Towards these sort of question, what is your approach? How to improve X product, right? Or how to improve Y product? What is your approach towards these questions? Or maybe the approach that you look forward to from any other person sitting other side of the table while interviewing?
What I basically seek from any interviewee while I'm interviewing them is to basically ask me the right set of questions when I've asked them, say, a case study or any other question, right? So I know for a fact that when I have put down a one-liner question in front of them, this is not good enough. This might not be good enough to create a 50-liner answer, or for example 10 lines worth of answer against, right? So the candidate should first basically understand the problem really well. Every product manager has to invest some set number of days or weeks, months at times, to basically understand the problem, acknowledge the problem, that yes sir, this is a problem. You will have to get some stakeholders. In fact, you will have to get some stakeholders to agree to the problem that you are proposing to them, that boss, this is a credible problem, and if we solve this problem, then there will be this impact that we can bring, and hence this impact might bring this much amount of revenue and potentially this much amount of profit, right? So similarly, coming back to the point, first the candidate should basically ask the right set of questions, understand the question really well, and then they should basically get to the acknowledgement of the problem, and then listing down what are the current solutions to every problem. See, there in this world there is already a fix to every problem. It's just that people are hacking their way against it until and unless they get a very efficient product to solve their problem, right? So what is the alternative? How will this interviewer basically address this after addressing the problem, what are the alternatives which are already available? How is this problem being solved currently? What will they do to ensure that they are able to solve this problem now with their product better than how their competitor might already be doing it, in case this is a completely new product? So I think that is how is how I think I would want the interviewee to basically address work through the solution mechanism rather than directly getting into the problem, right? So, and once they have told me that okay, this is the product, this is how I will reach the market, and then they should basically tell me that okay, these are the 2-3 different solutions that we can do, and then just leave it at the prioritization, that okay, this is how I'll prioritize. I think that is enough for me.
From your point of view, what differentiates a good PM from a great PM?
I think there are a set of 2 or 3 different traits which definitely differentiate a good PM from a great PM. One of them being, and the most important of them being, that if you want to really be a great PM, you should always be close to your customers, right? So, and this comes with a problem that if you are a really good PM, then you will be indulged in 10 different things. So talking to your customers sometimes becomes your least priority, which is the worst thing to do, right? I mean, being a consumer side PM, for example, you would always want to talk to your customers. You should, I think, make it a job to talk to your customers at least say once a week or say once every 2 weeks, where you invest at least 2 hours talking to them, understanding their problems. Whenever you have come out with a new release, you should definitely talk to your customers. Once this app release has actually reached out, set number of people, and for example 20-30% people already have this app, then you reach out to such customers who have experienced your product, take their feedback, and probably iterate on your product, right? So that is one thing which clearly stands out, that as you grow in your career, it becomes increasingly more and more difficult for you to stay connected to your customers, and then you find ways to basically stay connected. That is via your associate PM, right? You will always reach out to him. "Achha, theek hai, what is the general feedback that the customers are giving?" And so see, everybody comes with their own bias, right? So your associate PM, while very well intended, will always have his bias. So for example, if he talk to 100 people, he will give you the final crisp answer, but then you will lose the noise that was there in the responses, right? So that is one.
This is mostly targeted towards the people who are already being product manager, right? How we can differentiate among those two. But your piece of suggestions for the people who are transitioning into PM role, or who are starting as a new product manager on a APM level or a PM intern level. So yeah, your piece of advice for those folks, what would be that one thing that can make difference from their end?
I think for any new entrant into this role, it's very, very necessary that this person should have two skills. One, they should actually love communicating, right? Because Naivedya, for example, will also agree with me that 60% of our job, if not more, is talking to people. These people, let me enumerate some, right? These will be your customers. These will be your fellow product managers. These will be your technology guys, maybe QA, maybe your developers. It will be your compliance team, risk team, security team. It will be legal team. Why? Because if you have any partners, you will also have to get agreements. Now, you are not a legal person, but again, this is expected out of you. It's your product. You have to create your legal agreements as well. You have to get them signed off, right? So one is this, that 60-70% of your job is going to be communication. You have to be really good at communication. One way of communicating is via calls, via meetings, etc., and other ways to write. Second would definitely be that in a PM role, and basically for new entrants, very important thing is that they should never say no. I mean, be open to anything and everything. I mean, I was not a PM, but I was into information security, right? I was talking ISO 27001 versus me developing, versus me into consulting, talking to some retail clients, versus me program managing, versus I also had a short stint in growth and marketing before I stumbled into program management and then product management for PAYTM. But and I'm being very honest, everything, every day, every ounce of work that I would have done, it has definitely helped me at some point. For example, information security that I had done in 2011 helped me in PAYTM in 2017. And I was glad I understood all of those terms, because then I had to get an information security audit done for bank. So that helped me then after 6 years.
So any specific resources like that you follow, like 3 to 4 resources that you can suggest these people can read who are getting into it or starting it now for the interview? Yeah.
For new entrants into the product management scene, I think there are a couple of good books which are written, and I also followed them, to be very honest. I went through Cracking the PM Interview. I think while you may try to crack your way through the companies that are enlisted there, but reading through that book will definitely tell you what you can expect in your interview. So that is very important. This book will basically take you through the entire journey of the different interviews, different things that will happen during the interview, so that you can prepare well before getting into it. Second there was this another book called Decode and Conquer. This also helped me think more structurally. So I think that is good. Then there is this I don't know whether it's a book or it's just a PDF, but I had this book called Case in Point, which has some 200 pages worth of case studies. Right. So this I did back in 2014, revisited it sometime in 2017 and in 20 also, I think in COVID, if I remember correctly. Amazing book if you want to work on your case studies. This will give you all the frameworks that are needed. I mean, whatever MBA jargon that you are afraid of in case you're not an MBA, this book will tell you whatever you can speak, and these will be the correct words, these will be the correct frameworks that your interviewer is also looking forward to. So all of those will be able to do. I think so. Somebody gave me back in 2014. So
yeah.
What mistakes you did, right? If you are given a chance again, you wouldn't commit, right? If you start today afresh in product role.
Okay, I think just a couple of things that come to mind at such short notice. One would be that I would read more, right? So this reading can be in case you are already working for a company where you want to transition into product role. I think if see over Confluence, etc., you will always have access to your the PRDs that your product managers have written, right? So in case you are in the tech team, or in case you are in the marketing team or in the design team, and you are trying to figure your way into the product, then probably you should read the PRDs that your fellow employees are writing. This will definitely tell you how they think. I think having first-hand access to PRD should definitely help you structure your thoughts, basically understand how and what does a product manager basically do. So this, I think, if you are already in a company which is a product company, for example, some people are in service company, it might be difficult for them to do this. But in case you are in a product company, I think you can definitely ask for a friend who can arrange for some good PRDs that they might have written. People, in fact, product managers are very proud of sharing their PRDs if they are really well written. So that is one thing. And then general reading of books, etc. If I hope I had started much earlier. That is one. And second is the need of a mentor. In case you can, if you in case you already don't have one, you should always have a mentor who can uh, give you the right direction, right? So you can do anything, you can do everything, you can still be an astronaut for all I know. But the problem is that it will become difficult and more difficult in case you don't have that mentor who's basically telling you, boss, you have to tread this path, and it will become easier for you. Why? Because I've already done this in the past. So I think that would definitely help. Get yourself a good mentor. You can keep changing your mentor in case they are not as relevant anymore, because at some point this person might change their path, you might change your path, you might be on a completely different path. But so keeping a mentor and then probably reading more and keeping yourself more tied in with your product manager in case you are already in a product team, I think that would definitely help. That would have definitely helped me also if I had done this earlier.
Cool. So awesome. I mean, that's again a well articulated and well thought answer.
So I hope everyone really liked the session, right? We try to bring in as many mentors as we can every time, right?
Thank you so much for joining us here on this session. And again, as Neville said, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And as a product manager's customer feedback is also important. So make sure to let us know your questions, your topics that you would want us to cover in the next coming videos.